Let's talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback situation. Currently, the Steelers have 3 quarterbacks on their roster: Mason Rudolph, who's set to be a free agent, Mitch Trubisky, and Kenny Pickett. What if I told you none of those guys are going to be the starter in 2024? Well, that's exactly what I'm going to tell you. Let's bring up the timeline. Let's try making this simple. 18 weeks. Matt Canada was fired after week 11. I'll refer to this period as 2023 under Canada. The post-Canada timeline is the most important factor in this analysis. Kenny Pickett plays 2 games post-Canada. He's injured in week 13 during that second game against the Cardinals. Mitch plays out that game. The Steelers lose that one and also drop the next 2 with Mitch under center. From there, it's the Mason Rudolph show. He helps the team win their last 3 games. The Steelers make the playoffs, Mason Rudolph looks like a hero, and there looks to be a controversy in the Steel City. Well, I'm here to tell you that there shouldn't be. We'll start with Mitch Trubisky. The man did not play well for the Pittsburgh Steelers this season. That is plain and simple to see. However, he did start the first half of our post-Canada timeline, and that is arguably the worst time to be a starter. You no longer have your offensive coordinator. The guy who wrote your playbook is no longer in the building, and the guys replacing him are trying to take that playbook, condense it, and make it simpler. It's a fairly confusing time to be in the facility. I can only imagine, though. I'm not a professional. Mitch didn't play well, and honestly, that's not surprising. The offense under Canada was a mess, and the offense after Canada was a mess. And the Steelers, frankly, were playing damage control at this point, and Mitch was just kind of tossed into that mess. He wasn't set up for success at all. Frankly, I'm not surprised that they dropped 3 games. That's not surprising. Enter Mason Rudolph, the man of the hour. A guy who has been in Pittsburgh since 2018 when the team drafted him. I'm just going to say it. Objectively, Mitch Trubisky is the better quarterback. However, Mason Rudolph should have started the entirety of the post-Canada timeline. The reason for that is pretty simple. Mason Rudolph has been in the building. He's got a rapport with the entire team. He's just better suited to be the starter at this particular time. I understand why they went with Mitch Trubisky. Like I said, objectively, he's the better quarterback, but Mason Rudolph should have been the starter that second half of the season when Kenny Pickett had surgery. Mason also had the benefit of starting the second half of our post-Canada timeline. At this point, the offense was really forging an identity and getting their act together, and I really feel that Mason Rudolph benefited from being the next guy. Like, he didn't start when everything was in shambles. He started when they were nailing the simplified playbook and finding themselves. The team looked drastically different from what we saw at the beginning of the season. And Mason Rudolph really benefited from that. I guess what I'm trying to say is Mason Rudolph is average at best. There's a reason why nobody called him during free agency last season. There's a reason why he's been 3rd string on the depth chart a majority of his career. And that reason is he's not an NFL starting quarterback. At his best, he's a backup. In my opinion, I don't think he should re-sign with the Pittsburgh Steelers this offseason. Controversy. Now we get to the second most interesting part of this video. Kenny Pickett, the hometown hero. There's so many questions involving Kenny Pickett, but probably the most important one that everybody asks themselves is, Kenny Pickett the franchise guy that the Pittsburgh Steelers drafted him to be? And honestly, I don't know. What I do know is he hasn't gotten a fair shake. The man's been involved in the Matt Canada offense his entire career. Sometimes it's hard to distinguish between Kenny's actual flaws and Matt Canada's terrible coaching. You see potential like Kenny Pickett's 6 fourth quarter comeback wins, but then you see stuff like these screenshots of wide open receivers and Kenny just doesn't see them. But then there are plays where Kenny tosses a deep ball to George Pickens to ice a game, which just result in a 1,000-yard stare from Matt Canada. Like, who does that? I don't really have a solid opinion on Kenny Pickett at the moment. I think he's probably the best quarterback on the Steelers roster at the moment. I don't think fans should read too much into his demotion to second string. I think Mike Tomlin was just riding a hot hand at the moment and keeping his franchise quarterback out of harm's way, even if it's said that his ankle was fully healed. All of that being said, I don't think Kenny Pickett's the starting quarterback in 2024. Controversy. Hey, could you do that thing where you like this video and subscribe to my channel? It really helps me figure out what people like to hear about, and it helps my channel grow. So if you could take a second to do that, I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you. Without further ado, I 100% believe the Pittsburgh Steelers should look into signing Russell Wilson this offseason to be their 2024 starting quarterback. Hear me out. The Denver Broncos are looking to move on from Russell Wilson this offseason. If that happens, I believe the Steelers need to pursue him as an option at quarterback. Why, you might ask? Well, it all has to do with Arthur Smith, the Steelers' new offensive coordinator. The majority of Arthur Smith's career is tied to the Tennessee Titans. He did move on in 2021 to coach the Atlanta Falcons, but only after establishing a potent offense that saw the resurgence of a quarterback by the name of Ryan Tannehill. That's right, another quarterback the entire league wrote off. Surprise. In Smith's offense, Tannehill won the 2019 Comeback Player of the Year award and led the Titans to an AFC Championship game. In 2020, Tannehill threw for a career-high 33 touchdown passes. All in all, with Smith running the offense and Tannehill executing the plays, the Titans became a force to be reckoned with and a perennial playoff contender in the short time they were together. That's right, I'm telling you that the Pittsburgh Steelers can see that same type of success if they sign Russell Wilson. Arthur Smith's track record of developing young quarterbacks isn't that amazing. See Desmond Ridder in Atlanta. However, Arthur Smith's success with established veteran quarterbacks is stellar. I say the Steelers let Mason Rudolph walk this year, let Mitch Trubisky play out the final year of his contract, and sit Kenny Pickett behind Russell Wilson in hopes that he learns something. I wholeheartedly believe that this is the model that the Steelers should use to experience immediate success. The team has a lot of questions, especially under center, but Russell Wilson answers a lot of those questions. Signing Russell Wilson is doable. All the Steelers need to do is cut a couple players with some bloated contracts and then sign Russell Wilson to like a 1-year incentive-heavy deal. I think this works out for both sides. The Pittsburgh Steelers get an established veteran quarterback who they can plug into their offense and experience success with immediately. Russell Wilson, on the other hand, gets another chance to prove that he's a starting caliber quarterback in the NFL. With that being said, I think I've rambled on enough. If you like this theory or have any ideas of your own, feel free to comment down below. Let me know what you think of this video. I really like hearing other people's opinions and knowing what people want to see. So, with that, have a good one.